Meghan Markle's characters struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
No, nobody wants these two.
Two of them actually need to sit down quietly with a therapist.
There are few things more painful than watching a carefully constructed public image fall apart in real time. And yet, that's exactly what happened on live television. One moment, a former royal was seen as a bold, misunderstood figure trying to redefine her narrative. The next, she was the center of a punchline heard around the world.
That they have as individuals.
Let's not applaud yet.
Comedy shows calling out Meghan for the B word that she is, because I genuinely believe this.
On a recent episode of Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost delivered a 7-word line that sent shockwaves through to continents. Meghan Markle is basically a mini Brigitte Macron. That was it, simple, direct, cutting, and devastating. Within seconds,
Meghan have been brutally roasted on Saturday Night Live.
Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
Trump's new trade deal with the UK is that Harry and Meghan...
The studio audience erupted into laughter, but the laughter didn't end there. Social media exploded, commentators weighed in. Political figures rolled their eyes, even European media couldn't resist the irony. And somewhere in Montecito, Meghan Markle reportedly had a meltdown of such intensity that her PR team scrambled into emergency mode. But before we get into the fallout, let's take a step back.
He is going to rock Meghan Markle's world. Meghan Markle is going to be humbled very quickly.
Some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will
Meghan Markle has spent the last 5 years building a brand, not just a personal one, but an institutional one. She wants to be seen as thoughtful, forward-looking, progressive, a champion of the voiceless, a voice of reason in a chaotic world. All of it painstakingly curated through press releases, stylized, interviews, and yes, carefully selected podcast guests.
There's no way President Trump would accept that deal. He's called Meghan Markle nasty and says he feels sorry for Princeharry because his wife is... It's the one that we all have severe...
That image came crashing down with a single joke. Because behind the rehearsed compassion and designer philanthropy lies something that satire reveals more quickly than scandal ever could. Pretension. Now, some will argue that Saturday Night Live roasts everyone, and they'd be right. Presidents, billionaires, musicians, religious leaders, royalty, no one is spared. That's the point of satire. It's democracy at its most irreverent. It levels the playing field. If you cannot take a joke, you might not be ready for leadership, but Meghan did not see it that way. Insiders at NBC report that within an hour of the episode airing, her representatives made frantic calls to producers demanding an apology. The words used were xenophobic, misogynistic, and deliberately cruel.
Seems to be one of the more vindictive, sort of nasty figures in public life.
More troubles for poor Meghan. She's been threatened with a $10 million lawsuit after a woman suffered catastrophic burns, allegedly from the duct.
We want privacy! We want privacy!
Let's make a show.
According to one executive, Meghan's team accused the network of trying to delegitimize her global credibility as a rising political voice. Let that sink in. A woman who once walked red carpets and posed for Vanity Fair now sees herself as a global political authority. And one joke sent her spiraling. What followed was a behind-the-scenes frenzy. A flurry of calls, demands for retractions, legal consultations. Media influencers pushed to reframe the joke as an attack. It didn't work. The public was not sympathetic. In fact, they were amused. The irony, of course, is that the joke was barely personal. It wasn't vicious, it was a reflection, a subtle but sharp commentary on Meghan's attempt to reinvent herself as a stateswoman without ever earning the stripes of one. Brigitte Macron, for all her controversies, is still a functioning part of the government. Meghan runs a foundation named after her child and a now-defunct podcast that once invited Serena Williams to discuss duality. And it gets worse. Reports out of France suggest that Brigitte Macron herself was none too pleased with the comparison. According to leaked whispers from the Élysée Palace, the French First Lady stormed into President Macron's office the morning after the episode aired. Witnesses allege she shouted, "Do I look like that spoiled American narcissist to you?" Some even claim she slapped him in the heat of the moment. Now, the palace officially denied any such incident took place, but multiple French political journalists insist something heated happened behind closed doors. Either way, the Macron camp has gone completely silent since the episode. No public support, no comments, no defense of Meghan, and that silence speaks volumes. This episode matters for reasons far deeper than celebrity gossip. It revealed something that many in political and media circles have known for a while. Meghan Markle does not understand the rules of public life. She wants the applause without the scrutiny. She craves the platform but rejects the criticism. She demands to be taken seriously yet melts down when comedians do their job. Even her Hollywood allies are beginning to distance themselves. Netflix, already growing weary of her creative demands and endless edits, is said to be rethinking future projects. One showrunner reportedly refused to take her call after she demanded a complete narrative reframe of her character in an upcoming documentary series. Oprah has remained silent. So has Tyler Perry. The people who once went to bat for her are now watching cautiously from the sidelines. And then there's the poll data. Days after the SNL sketch aired, a Morning Consult poll revealed that over 60% of Americans agreed with the joke. They found it accurate and amusing. Only 19% considered Meghan Markle a serious political figure. That number drops even further in the United Kingdom. Among Commonwealth countries, the reaction was worse. In Australia and Canada, she is increasingly seen as an out-of-touch celebrity clinging to titles she renounced it. And still, the spin machine continues. Meghan's team authorized what sources describe as a sympathy offensive, a campaign to frame her as the victim of institutional misogyny, American bigotry, and European elitism. Articles were quietly pitched, journalists were nudged. Social media influencers were recruited to soften the narrative. None of it stuck. Because the damage wasn't just done, it was self-inflicted. And if the situation wasn't already absurd enough, TikTok took over. Within 24 hours, parody videos flooded the app. Clips mocking her podcast voice, satirical reenactments of fake royal press conferences, spoof ads for a perfume called Mini by Meghan. One skit even featured a fictional Meghan demanding that the French First Lady publicly apologize for existing. The joke had become folklore, and Meghan, once desperate to be seen as dignified, was now reduced to a meme. Even Meghan's friends in the political space have grown uneasy. One Democratic strategist reportedly remarked, "If she thinks she's going to run for office, this was the end of that fantasy." Another compared her to Sarah Palin, but with fewer policy ideas and better Instagram filters. No one in Washington is taking her seriously anymore. No one in Paris ever did. And her former royal allies in London, they're watching this with quiet satisfaction. Then there is Princeharry, who once stood with military veterans and toured war zones, now stands silently beside a woman who demands that comedy shows issue retractions when they say something mean. According to palace sources, Harry was mortified by her reaction. He allegedly told a friend that it didn't help their image, but as always, he remains publicly mute. And silence in this case is not diplomacy, it's complicity. At this point, Meghan Markle's reputation is not under attack from outside forces. It's being dismantled by her own actions. She wanted power without politics, respect without humility, fame without vulnerability. And when satire held a mirror to her face, she didn't like what she saw. What makes the Saturday Night Live joke so potent is not that it was mean-spirited, it wasn't, it was astute. It pointed out that behind all the buzzwords and branding, Meghan Markle is not a leader. She is a product, and like all products, she is susceptible to public opinion. She is not exempt from criticism, she is not immune to mockery, and she is certainly not above humor. Meghan wanted to be admired like Eleanor Roosevelt, remembered like Diana, and treated like a global humanitarian. But admiration is earned, legacy is built, and relevance is sustained not through tantrums, but through substance. The real tragedy here is not that Meghan was mocked. It's that she has spent so long trying to control her image that she no longer knows how to exist outside of it. She responds to satire with lawsuits. She treats media criticism as defamation. She believes every headline is either a threat or an opportunity, and now, after years of strategizing, rehabbing, and carefully architected branding, she is not known for her work, her charity, or even her titles. She is known for being laughed at. That's the legacy Colin Jost exposed. And it's the mirror Meghan cannot bear to look into.